Has anyone ever said this to you? Why can't you just be happy for me? Have you ever heard that from a narcissistic person? Why can't you just be happy for me? It's something they will say in all kinds of different circumstances. So I'm going to give you a few examples. They may put the family finances at risk. And you're wondering if you're going to be kicked out on the street. And then something works out in their new venture. And you've been on this wild, terrifying ride with them. And while ultimately it does work out, you're still worried and still want to have a better safety plan. And instead of being their cheerleader, you may say something like, are you sure that this is going to be okay next year? And then you get back for them, why can't you just be happy for me? Another example, you get divorced from them. And you have minor children. And after years, the divorce paperwork is finally signed, but the whole process was a mess, including around custody. And of course, 6 months after the divorce is final, they tell you that they're going to marry their new and probably much younger partner, or the new partner is moving in or pregnant or some riff on that. And you look at them almost unbelieving. Even though you have radical acceptance, you still can't believe this shit. And your main concern is for the disruption on top of the disruptions your children have already endured and are now about to endure again, moving to a new house, a very quickly showing up pregnant new step-parent, a potentially new sibling, and they look at you as though you are some sort of killjoy monster and say, why can't you just be happy for me? This could happen with a narcissistic sibling who's embedded in a larger narcissistic family system where resources were frequently unfairly distributed. And your golden child, narcissistic sibling whose tuition was paid or who got a car as a gift at a younger age is now going to throw a lavish wedding. And this, despite your family of origin knowing that you've been struggling financially a bit, maybe you're in school or whatever the reason is. So when you are a little lukewarm about your narcissistic sibling's fairy tale wedding and all of the various costs it will entail for you to be part of this circus with no offer of any of your travel or time being paid for by this so-called generous family, the narcissistic sibling says to you, why can't you just be happy for me? Maybe you have a sort of mildly narcissistic friend who is often quite detached from how their behavior and their words affect other people. And they choose never to read the room. You may work in a similar field to them as well, and you may have been hustling hard for years, accumulating student loans and other debt. You didn't have any inside connections or family connections or an inside track. And you were also your friend's cheerleader. But she has had some advantages. A family, for example, maybe that paid for her education. And then it came to a point where you had been working for years and years on something that she just got interested in about a year before, and boom, a person she knew through her dad called another person and got her a deal that you couldn't even dream of, and a real leg up in the industry. You even felt like a bad person for not being happier for her, but it felt like an unfairness and an injustice. And she didn't seem to even have any self-reflection on her disproportionate good fortune relative to your hard work that hasn't revealed any sort of payout for you. She was sharing yet one more great thing that was happening to her while you continued slogging along. And that day you just weren't enthusiastic enough for her, and she hits back with, why can't you just be happy for me? Happiness is a very tricky topic when it comes to narcissistic relationships. Clearly, the person who is harmed by these relationships, or let's call them the not narcissistic person in these relationships, is typically not happy. And happiness seems like such a faraway goal that it seems like a ridiculous conversation for survivors of these relationships. You aren't really thinking about happiness when you are so gaslighted that you don't know what day of the week it is. But narcissistic people, damn, they feel very entitled to happiness all the time. And more pointedly, they feel entitled to everyone being happy for them when things are going the way they want, even though it may not be going well for, or maybe even things are going wrong for other people, or their good news results in harm to other people. So even if their happiness is gained on the back of someone else not getting something, or someone else's feelings getting hurt, or an unfairness, or a lack of awareness about the circumstances that someone else faces, they still expect everyone to be utterly happy for them. The lack of empathy means that they don't register that maybe someone else is suffering or going through a difficult time for some reason. If things are happy for them, well, then everyone has to drop what they're doing and rally onto the rah-rah train and be happy for the narcissistic person. I am sure many of you have been there. The "why can't you just be happy for me" can also raise confusion for a person who is in a narcissistic relationship, because you're already sort of struggling with self-blame. And once again, you're wondering if you're the problem. You already were wondering if you're the problem. Like, maybe you are the one who has a problem, or you're a sourpuss, or you're bitter. These are things that the narcissistic person may have already been telling you. And so then we just have to rally and not be a so-called sourpuss. The "why can't you just be happy for me" issue can start in childhood for folks who have a narcissistic parent or parents. The narcissistic parent, who really doesn't care about the needs of their child and basically subjugates the needs of everyone in the household as secondary to their own, will just go and do their own thing. And if there's protest from anyone in the family, the other parent or other people in the household, or anything less than complete and utter enthusiasm for their great golf game or a new hairstyle or their promotion that makes no sense to the kids, they only register that it means, the kids may only register that it means now that the family has to move. And even if the parents are, or the parent are spending time and money that really doesn't work for the given situation, right? They expect the entire family to be their cheering section. And if you aren't, you are the problem. You are the ingrate. You are the one who's selfish and doesn't care about other people. The narcissistic family system basically exists as a supply station for the narcissistic parent, nothing more. And when you gravitate away from that, you will experience their rage and manipulation. And they just expect their 5-year-old, whom they are barely attuned to be oh so happy for them, even though that poor little kid has no idea what's going on. Narcissistic people absolutely despise when people do what they perceive as raining on their parade, because those good days for them are their supply. And because they have no empathy, other people don't matter. Their feelings, their experiences, where they're at. But here's where it gets really messed up. They will throw a fuss about, "why can't you be happy for me?" regardless of the negative impacts of this source of happiness for them. But what if something good happens for you? And odds are, if you are not narcissistic, that your good thing that happened to you didn't have a body count the way that these good things do for narcissistic people. Well, folks, it's all luck and timing. If your good thing times out in a way that there's enough good stuff happening for the narcissistic person, or your good news is not a threat to them, or they may even benefit from it, then sure, they may cheer you on a little bit, but that's pretty rare. By and large, if you have something good happen to you, the narcissistic person will pretty quickly slide into victim mode. They may feel competitive or threatened or go on about how life is unfair specifically and only to them, and believe it is unreasonable that they should have to cheer and ooh and ah for you, and they'll say that out loud. "Oh, great, now I have to be your cheering squad." So just as you are being critiqued for not being happy for them, the odds are that they have never, or if they have, rarely done that for you. I mean, narcissistic relationships are the mothership of hypocrisy, and if you push back and say that, they'll come back with, "why can't you just be happy for me?" When you stop and think about it, The selfishness meets entitlement meets lack of empathy is the driver here. Their entitlement to happiness and everyone signing off on it, they need the applause. And if they don't get it, then you are the problem. And that is the problem, that they will always shift blame and never take responsibility. And this whole issue is really tough when you are, for example, co-parenting kids with a narcissist who is carrying on like an adolescent or a midlife asshole. And no, you can't summon up happiness for them when you are watching your children be confused and be harmed by the juvenile manipulative antics of their other parent. Of course, this question of why can't you just be happy for me is rhetorical and unanswerable to their face. The true answer for why you can't be happy for them is because they're selfish and unaware and don't stop to think how they affect other people and that it feels unfair and imbalanced and gross. So no, you're not happy for them. You're tired of being happy for them. But you can't say that part out loud. These relationships are empty, one-way streets of inauthenticity. If you're in it, and you're going to be in it for a minute, try and summon up the best of your, wow, great, so happy for you, without it sounding entirely like you're phoning it in. If you are, again, stuck in one of these relationships and you can't easily exit, text works great for this. We can fake enthusiasm so much more on a text or an email, so try that as a first pass. You may wonder, can't I just say nothing? Of course, it really just comes down to your appetite for their why can't you be happy for me BS. Sadly, narcissistic people do pick up on sarcasm, so you have to be careful with that. And finally, no, you are not a bad person if you are not happy for them. I mean, goodness gracious, why would you be? Authenticity is about keeping it real, even when it feels a little uncomfortable. You don't have to fake your empathy for them. Like I said, you can phone it in, keep it superficial to keep the trains running. But if you genuinely aren't happy for them because of the body count of their good news, that's okay. And being honest with yourself about this stuff is essential for healing. And bonus points to you if you feel schadenfreude and want it to rain on the day of their fairy tale wedding, or that their new marriage falls apart, or that their new business fails. It's normal, and frankly, it speaks to that fighter of a you inside of you. It's not bad karma. It's a quest for justice. And to any of you who popped a bottle of champagne when things went wrong for the narcissistic person, please know that I'm right there at your side with you saying cheers. There ain't nothing wrong with celebrating that the scales even out from time to time. Don't buy into this new age prattle of your bad energy brings more bad energy. No, it doesn't. Having these moments of feeling whole and just and recognizing that this bully of a person doesn't always get their way, it can definitely lift a mountain of tension for you. But don't let this maybe I'm the problem self-blame boomerang get you. Not being happy for them is actually a power move within yourself. It means you see it clearly. Ultimately, this why can't you just be happy for me paradigm is one more reminder of why these relationships are so exhausting. Thanks again.